How do people survive winter in a remote village? That question rarely crosses the minds of those who live surrounded by convenience, warmth, and constant noise. In cities, winter is an inconvenience. In remote villages, it is a test. A test of patience, endurance, and quiet strength. Far from highways and streetlights, beyond the reach of modern comfort, winter becomes something deeply personal. I arrived in the village just before the first heavy snow. The road leading there barely deserved to be called a road. What once might have been asphalt had long ago broken apart into patches of cracked concrete and dirt. The final kilometers were nothing more than narrow tracks carved by old tires, disappearing into a forest that seemed endless. There were no signs welcoming visitors. No cell signal, just silence, trees, and the feeling that the world I knew was slowly being left behind. The village revealed itself gradually. A handful of wooden houses stood scattered across open land, as if intentionally keeping distance from one another. Most of them were old, built decades ago by hands that had long since aged or disappeared. Roofs sagged under their own weight. Paint peeled away from window frames. Smoke drifted slowly from a few chimneys, thin but steady, the only sign that life still existed here. Winter comes early in places like this. By October, the air already carries a sharpness that cuts through clothing and settles into bones. People move differently then, with purpose. Every step has meaning. Every task matters. There is no room for laziness or delay, because once the snow fully arrives, mistakes become dangerous. Firewood is everything. Without it, there is no warmth, no cooking, no life. During summer and fall, villagers spend countless hours cutting, splitting, and stacking wood. The piles grow higher than fences, carefully covered to keep them dry. Experienced hands know that what looks like enough wood in October may not survive until March. Winters here are unpredictable, and the cold has no mercy. Inside the houses, the wood stove is the heart of the home. It decides the rhythm of each day. In the early morning, long before sunrise, someone wakes to feed the fire. The air inside the house is cold, breath visible in the dim light. Boots are pulled on, coats wrapped tight, and wood is carried in from outside where snow crunches beneath every step. Slowly, the fire comes back to life. The stove crackles, warmth spreads, another day begins. Electricity exists, but only in theory. Power lines run through the village, yet storms frequently bring them down. Sometimes electricity disappears for hours. Sometimes for days. In winter, people learn not to depend on it. Candles, kerosene lamps, and habit take its place. Darkness here feels different, deeper, thicker. Nights stretch long, and time slows down. Water is another daily challenge. There is no running water inside most homes. Wells freeze. Buckets stick to bare hands in extreme cold. Ice must be broken again and again. Carrying water through deep snow becomes exhausting work, especially for the elderly, who make up most of the village's remaining population. Young people left long ago, chasing jobs and easier lives elsewhere. Food in winter is the result of months of preparation. Cellars beneath the houses hold potatoes, carrots, beets, and jars filled with preserved vegetables. Shelves are lined with homemade jams and pickles. Meat, when available, is carefully rationed. Nothing is wasted. Every meal is simple, filling, and earned through labor. The village store, if it can be called that, opens only when supplies arrive. Sometimes once a week, sometimes less. Snowstorms can cut the village off completely. When that happens, people survive on what they have, trusting their preparation and experience. Hunger is rare, but simplicity is constant. Livestock adds another layer of responsibility. Cows, goats, chickens, they all require daily care regardless of weather. Barns are insulated as best as possible using hay, wood, and old fabric. Water is warmed before feeding. Animals provide milk, eggs, and sometimes meat, but they demand commitment. Many older villagers say the animals give them a reason to wake up every morning, even when the cold feels unbearable. Loneliness is perhaps the hardest part of winter. Snow closes distances, and silence fills the gaps between houses. Some villagers may go days without speaking to another person. Phone connections are weak. Internet is almost non-existent. For those living alone, winter can feel endless. Yet something remarkable exists beneath the hardship. A quiet sense of community. When someone runs out of firewood, neighbors notice. When smoke stops rising from a chimney, someone checks. Help is never announced loudly, but it arrives. A sack of potatoes left at the door. Firewood stacked without a word. In places like this, survival depends on shared understanding. Evenings are slow, people sit near their stoves, drinking hot tea, listening to the fire. Stories emerge naturally, memories of harsher winters, of times when the village was full of children and laughter, of lives lived and lost. These conversations warm the soul as much as the stove warms the body. The nights are incredibly quiet. Snow absorbs sound. The wind whispers through trees. Occasionally, a dog barks in the distance. Under the stars, the village feels suspended in time. The modern world seems impossibly far away. Winter storms test everything. Cars refuse to start. Doors freeze shut. Windows frost over from the inside. Simple actions become challenges. Yet people adapt. They move slower. Think ahead. Respect the cold rather than fight it. For the few children still living here, winter is both harsh and magical. School is often cancelled due to weather. Play happens close to home. Sleds glide over packed snow. Laughter cuts through the silence. These moments remind everyone that life continues, even here. Medical emergencies are feared. Ambulances struggle to reach the village. Villagers rely on each other, old remedies, and luck. This reality creates resilience, but also acceptance. Life here teaches people to understand their limits. Winter shapes character. It strips away excess. There is no pretending, no distractions. What remains is routine, responsibility, and quiet strength. People learn patience. They learn gratitude for warmth, food, and human connection. When spring finally approaches, it does so slowly. Snow melts reluctantly. Mud replaces ice. The village breathes again, but winter never truly leaves the memory. It becomes part of who these people are. Life in a remote village during winter is not romantic. It is demanding, exhausting, and sometimes cruel. But it is also honest. Every day survived is a victory. Every warm fire is a reward. Every shared moment matters. As long as smoke rises from these chimneys, as long as footsteps mark the snow between houses, life continues here. Quietly, strongly, against the cold,